I remember one time handling a really drunk crowd while he, with his songs, and like he was just playing over them. And I thought that was so hilarious how he was trying to play down the drunks. Here's a young kid. Do you know Rick Crom?
I remember Rick Crom.
Yeah, we're doing a little documentary. You guys know Jeff Ross.
Rick passed away?
Not yet. Okay. Perfect time.
Bring up a very talented guy, multi-talented. Just worked at Bally's in Las Vegas, and just down Atlantic City, Tropicana, and he's also an off-Broadway composer and lyricist. Put your hands together for Mr. Rick Crom.
Rick Crom.
Rick Crom.
Rick Crom.
Rick Crom, everybody.
You ask people from Brooklyn what they do, they go, what do you need done? You know, so.
I owe a lot of material to Rick Crom.
This is a guy as versatile as anybody.
He's like a 9-tool player.
All you had to do is hear Rick at the piano belt out a note in this Broadway style. Oh, this guy's like the real deal.
The guy writes musicals. I can't think of anybody that comes to mind that writes better musicals.
Producing his own, being in them, plays, you know, the theater world. And like, there's nothing tougher than that, than New York theater.
No one sings songs and does stuff on the piano because that stuff sucks usually. Rick's the only one who can make that funny and interesting.
Daddy! You're fucking 40 years in a row working. Who does that? Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Rick Crom.
Do you smell fried chicken?
Oh, Rick.
Oh, Rick.
Oh, Rick.
Oh, Ricky.
Gracie, I'm going to put your cartoons on. Oh, that's right. I'm leaving. You have to have a treat, or you'll pout. Ah, that's the vicious attack animal. All right, I'm going to go. Don't eat poop. If you would have told me when I was 25 that I wouldn't be a big star by the time I was 59, I'd have killed myself. I didn't go into comedy to change the world, as a lot of people do. I really love the art of entertaining. People go into comedy thinking, I've got a lot of ideas to change the world, or I'm going to change the face of comedy. And that was never my thing. I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to combine a lot of different things into one act. Saturday and Sundays, I teach right here in the Cellar. All right.
He's very serious about whatever he tackles. He really is he's all in. Whether it's the music, what he writes, his teaching. I know of a lot of comics that started comedy classes and they're not as invested as Rick is. But that's his personality. He does everything with all his mighty.
When I asked them if I could teach a class, they said, as long as we don't have to do anything. All right.
Rick is by far the best stand-up comedy instructor there is.
I'm going to give you the best advice and guidance that I can, but of course you can learn from a lot of different people. So just be open to everything at this point in your education about how to do this thing called stand-up.
I think he's basically the only one who really treats it with the respect of a real like professor would treat a course.
Stand-up, of course, is a more written medium that looks improvised. And there's room for improvisation, but that's the little illusion we're creating, is that this is all coming off the top of our head. Of course, on stage, you got to do it with that same kind of emotion, only make it sound like it just happened, and you have to do that like three or 400 times with the same material. So
I always loved when he hosted because he wasn't a hostile guy. He's a gentleman, and he behaved like one, and I felt the crowd gave into that.
He was the master of just just working with any size crowd, any type of people. He never alienated any audience, and yet he could make any of them laugh.
You guys are in a great mood. We're going to continue the show. You ready for more show?
George Sadisco is the founder and creator of the Chicago City Limits troupe. I can't pronounce it, but he's the founder and creator of it. And George, how did the group form? And Well, first of all, what is improvisation?
Improvisation is creating scenes on the spot from audience suggestions, and that's what we do.
Well, who developed this? I mean, did somebody just go out and say, well, listen, I'm going to get up and do something silly, and maybe people will pay for it, or?
Well,
I mean, how did it all begin?
probably.
It's a structured thing.
Oh, and it started in Chicago. That's why our name, Chicago City Limits, because improvisation really did begin in Chicago. You're from Chicago, Rick. You should know that.
A young Rick there.
It was very young Rick.
Yeah.
I met Rick Crom for the first time when we performed at Cobart's Comedy Cove.
That was at Cobart's Comedy Cove with a K.
There was an improv group there called Chicago City Limits. They didn't have any music behind them. I was the only guy there who had an electric guitar with me.
We're looking for someone to, to work with us, to be our piano player, a guitar player, whatever, and Rick said yes.
Musical improv is so big now. Rick Crom is the father of musical improv. There.
I love that.
The illegitimate father.
The illegitimate father.
Now, first of all, we had this thing where I'd play, Chicago was our theme, so it was this big, and we'd do stops there. But if they'd be doing a scene, I'd be like it was a mysterious scene. And I'm just making this up, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I was trying to make it where the music never overwhelmed the action. So I would just listen to what they were doing and just feel it.
He had a good sense of if the person's going to be brash, he would go the other way. If the person was going to be quiet, he would go the other way. He could read people right away.
People, I'm sorry I'm late. You know what they say, better late than never. It's okay, brother.
Worked with them for about a year or so in Chicago, and then they said, we're going to New York. You want to come? And I was like, hell yeah. I didn't have anything holding me in Chicago, and I didn't have a college degree that made me want to go into finance or anything like that. All I had was my silly songs and my jokes and my voices, and now this improv group, and so I thought, well, New York is the perfect place for us.
We packed up literally, we got into a van, and we drove to New York.
The sign in Ohio when you're on Route 80 going east that says New York, 500 miles or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, we're actually going.
This is Radio City Music Hall.
I was able to get my own apartment on 49th Street, and I thought it was the big time. It was this big and this long, but to me, it was gorgeous.
I was standing in the hallway right next to my bathroom looking into my apartment. And I've got the wide-angle lens on now. A little clay figure of me at the piano. Over here I have a window guard. So that's my apartment, so let's go, shall we?
The reason for the lineup outside the Comedy Cellar is the lineup inside with your host, the star of the Comedy Cellar, Bill Grundfest. Located at 117 McDougal Street in Greenwich Village, call 254-3630. The Comedy Cellar, the best comedy room in town.
It seemed to be more of a place where when you had an act, that's where you went. You didn't go there right off the street.
It was just the best comics seemed to gravitate there towards the end of the night. It was a different vibe from the other club.
This is McDougal Street, which the Comedy Cellar is on. It's like little Beirut. You can see all of the Middle Eastern clubs. That's 3rd Street over there. Here's the Comedy Cellar.
Chicago City Limits, we would perform in comedy clubs, and the Comedy Cellar was one of the first ones that we did. And that's where I met Bill Grundfest.
I'm Bill Grundfest, founder of New York's legendary Comedy Cellar.
We first came to that building. My father had a very successful Middle Eastern nightclub where he played in the band. It became so successful that he had to get a bigger place, so we took over the place next door, which is now the Cafe Wa. That left an empty room where the Comedy Cellar is now. And then this guy named Bill Grundfest came in.
I went in the Olive Tree Cafe, which is the restaurant that's right above the Comedy Cellar. Then I went downstairs, and I couldn't believe it. The second I stepped foot in it, I said, this is it. And, Comedy Attic wouldn't work. Comedy Cellar, now you're talking.
Bill made it a success virtually overnight.
Would you please give a nice welcome to Jon Stewart? Jon Stewart! Jon
And in short order, it pushed everything else out and became the Comedy Cellar full time.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill had a sidekick at that time named Charles Zucker.
So Charles Zucker went out to LA to seek his fame and fortune, and they needed a piano player to sidekick with the MC at the Comedy Cellar. And since Chicago City Limits and I had been performing there, Bill just naturally said, how about you?
I really liked what Rick was adding to their show, because he was the piano player and he would make stuff up and he would do announcing stuff and voices and characters. And I said, this is the guy I want.
Well, if you take John Wayne's speech pattern and you put it into Liberace's voice, why, by golly, you got George Bush.
Then I started working with Bill, sidekicking in the shows, the weekend shows, and we started developing stuff together. And at the same time, I started to develop my own individual act as well.
Rick Crom! You can stay.
I'd like to stay.
In the beginning, he would just play me on with the piano and do the announcer thing. And then I said to him, listen, you're a funny guy. I am not that funny. So interrupt me.
I've got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle. Ooh.
And little by little, that's how he began.
It sort of got a whole new life with Rick.
Rick had a totally different feel than Charles, because Rick was more of a showman, a Broadway guy. I thought he was a theater major.
Rick and Bill developed a kind of wonderful rapport as an MC duo. Probably the best MCing we've ever had to this day at the Comedy Cellar was when Rick and Bill were doing it together.
I loved it. I loved it. All the other places had, a piano player or a band, but they were not part of the show. But this was like a real old-time relationship between Bill and Rick.
When people talk about the Comedy Cellar as being the most important comedy club in the country, I think really what set the tone for that was obviously the group of comedians that Manny and Estee were able to put together, but also the fact that at the heyday of the place, when it really came into the public consciousness, Rick and Grundfest were the guys running it, setting the tone.
You want to do a little number? Let's do a little number that bring John out.
Yes, let's do that.
Why not? We'll do a little song here for you guys. This song is from our second album.
Our live album.
Yeah, that's the one. This was recorded live at the Best Western Motel.
That's right, beautiful downtown Terre Haute, Indiana.
They came to see the comedians, of course, but we were an attraction in and of itself.
Bill wouldn't mind me saying he was they were like a comedy team, and he was the funny one, even though Bill was funny. He wasn't the sidekick, but Bill played the front guy because Bill was standing up in front of the microphone, and Rick would be up by the piano. But I think Rick delivered whenever Bill couldn't. Rick was right there.
Roasting you just right there. That's right. Just a little personal roast. Let's get a 6 out of that Comedy Cellar sign. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where all the money in the Comedy Cellar went to. Right there, that sign.
That's 50 grand, that sign.
That's right.
I left the Comedy Cellar because it was time to go. I left to come to Los Angeles and get into the sitcom business as a writer and a producer. And then Mad About You got made, and I got lucky.
Rick was the face of the Cellar after Bill left, certainly, because he was kind of, they had a thing that they did together as well. I came in on sort of the tail end of that. That's when I started, but certainly Rick was who you thought of when you thought of the Cellar.
The Comedy Cellar's where everybody hung out, at the Olive Tree upstairs. And I wasn't good enough for the Comedy Cellar yet. I really wasn't. But I was hanging out with the comics and stuff, and that's where I first met Rick.
It's a bittersweet night.
I always say that was back when the MC of the show was the star. Everybody came to watch Rick Crom. I loved Rick because he brought, in this very kind of macho, male-oriented scene, comedy, he brought musical theater.
Rick Crom
is because of him, my life is, at this stage of the game, is working at the Comedy Cellar is fucking miserable because of him. It's every time I have to do a set, I'm reminded, I swear to God, I'm reminded of Rick Crom's existence because I have to squeeze by that fucking piano. That fucking piano. And I truly believe the only reason it exists is because he is here.
To me, it was sort of this quintessential New York thing that I saw where I was like, here's a guy who gets on stage in a basement against a brick wall and he's playing the piano and he's doing, songs as well as a bunch of stand-up and just, he's doing everything really, really well.
When you say Mariah Carey's voice is how an angel sounds. When you dress yourself in spandex and you weigh 300 pounds.
He would do a full song just to cleanse the palate of the audience from whoever just went on. Rick would just take over, do something completely different and musical and outrageous and clever, and then he'd bring you up. So you really felt like you were on a variety show. I felt like I was in show business.
Sing with me now, you're in denial, you're in denial.
The show is the thing. And I'm coming from an MC and Rick's an MC. You want the show to be good.
You probably think that OJ didn't do it. You're in denial.
If the show's good, they're gonna think you're good. And some comedians don't know that.
When your life's a wreck, when you feel hunky-dory.
Everything clicks. Man, and it bugged me. I'm like, I do got to do a little work. Just watching Rick, because Rick was smooth as they come. Like, Rick was, ready to have his own variety show smooth.
Put your hands together. Welcome Wanda Sykes, everybody. Welcome! Wanda, come on, keep it going!
Rick Crom, everybody. Let him hear. Come on. He approached it as, this is an evening with Rick Crom, and I have some guests coming by, and he set us up lovely. He gave us all great intros.
Jeff Ross used to come in and do poems. And at one point, he realized that he could get a little extra out of the poems by having Rick play a little music, behind him.
Want to try something together, Rick? Come on, let's do something. Give Rick the love he deserves.
Tinkle along and play beautiful love music while I read very pretty love poems. And we always had a nice rapport on stage. He enhanced the bit. He didn't upstage the bit. He was a great partner up there.
Where the fuck are my keys? Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Shit. I'm not playing. Where the fuck are my motherfucking... Never mind, I got them. They're right here. Jeff Ross, good night, everybody.
I loved when he came on stage, and that was new for me. I hadn't really shared the stage with other comedians. I'm not a natural performer. It took me a long time to really get confident on stage. Then you bring somebody else up, and you have to share that control. But Rick was so smart and skilled, we came off great. We killed.
In examining a life such as Mark Cohen's, we must ask the questions, who is this man? Where did he come from? How could this happen? Mark was born in January 1962 to the lifting strains of his mother's voice screaming, "Get it out of me, I think it's barking."
It was great times by them, and Rick made it better. Some of those times on stage were the best because I like to party a little bit. And I couldn't remember my act. It was different every night. I would just do different jokes. And Rick would remember my act. So he would stay on stage and play the piano at first and do a joke, and I wouldn't know where the hell I was. And he'd go, do blah, 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 blah. And he would set up my next joke, and then I would do it. Because he was, and that was why I liked working with Rick, because Rick's so giving that he never took, it was my set, whether he was on stage or not. He was supporting me. He was giving me jokes. He was setting stuff up.
God made me so I could get laid. In the past I struck out, or I paid. The
The better I look, that combined with the Valium she took, makes me her dream come.
You notice that with a lot of MCs from back then, they would compete with the acts, you know, it was like 5 minutes in between, and rather than doing what a host does, which is makes his guests look good, they were like, okay, there's that asshole, now 5 minutes more of me. Okay, now there's that asshole, now 5 minutes more of me. You know, and that's not what the job is. I took great pride being a good MC. The thing is, though, young comedians, never become a good MC. Because if you do, it's the only thing they'll ever have you do. I'm just telling you, right now, don't become a good MC. Do the job, be pleasant, don't be a dick, but don't become great at it, because that's all you'll ever do.
We both work at a quaint little theater off Broadway. It's a temple to the arts. Though it needs a little paint. Each actor plays 100 parts, and every Mahoney is our saint. Things are slow at this quaint little theater off. One more. Off Broadway. No one gets a lot of pay. Though it takes a lot of guts. It's awful, and it's been that way ever since the Reagan cuts.
The first play I ever did, it was a musical. It was Carousel, and it was done with the All-City High School Theatrical Troupe, which was an all-city program where kids from all over the city would audition for this big show. And folks were, now listen, Rick, you know, there's going to be a lot of people there, so don't be disappointed if you don't get the part, and really setting me up for a soft landing. I got the part, and and they were both surprised and also a little concerned at that point, because now I'd been bitten by the bug. My connection in history. Well, this is the first show I did in New York that was something I'd written. It's a musical review, basically about characters I had met in the Village in New York. In 1992, I auditioned to be on in a Broadway show called The Goodbye Girl with Martin Short and Bernadette Peters. And I got that show. That was the first professional theater job I had had. I was Martin Short's second cover. And so that started a whole new area of my life where I would do theater and Broadway and off-Broadway and do comedy at the side. A lot of comedians have got the dream is to be on the Johnny Carson show. And for every actor, the dream is to be on Broadway in a musical, if you're a singer. So, yes, this was one of my, cha-ching, not money-wise, it just, this was one of the brass rings. Stephen Sondheim gave us signed pictures, and it says, "You're the best one on the show." And everybody got this. And then, of course, You're in Town, the big hit. I was in this show for 4 years as an actor, the original Tiny Tom.
And welcome to You're in Town, the musical.
He had a vital role. It was funny. He sounded great. He looked great. He was the star of his scenes, in my opinion.
Rick was dressed like, kind of like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, had like soot on his face and kind of the cap and everything. And he's got this voice. He's just on Broadway. There's Rick Crom. It's appropriate that a comedian would only get to the heights of Broadway in something called You're in Town. But he could really, just with all these other great Broadway people, he could nail it.
Your face, literally?
Wanda says, why don't we go and support Rick in the show? I said, sure.
I wanted to see it because I felt like that's where he belonged, on a big, in a Broadway show.
And I loved the show. Huge. The music was great. Everything was great. I turned around to say something to Wanda, and she slipped to the word. She couldn't care less about musicals or Broadway, but she wanted to go and support Rick.
Okay, Estee and I, we had a few drinks. She left out that part. You sit me in the dark, liquored up, and with a full stomach. I might doze off. But the part that I saw was great, and Rick was great. But I did take a little nap.
This is a book show I wrote with Hunter Foster. It's Clyde and Bonnie, a Folktale.
It's kind of a musical comedy version of the telling of the Bonnie and Clyde story. It took us 10 years to write it. I mean, we wrote it in a year, but then the rewrite, the different directions we would go on, took us about 10 years.
In terms of his musicals and in writing and directing and producing musicals, that's where I thought, this is where this guy needs a Tony. Rick is up there with, he is so, so talented. And that's where I expected Rick to really blossom.
We were going to go to Broadway, but then Frank Wildhorn got his on Broadway first, and it didn't do so well. So now our investor public has a bad taste about the subject matter.
He and Hunter Foster sit down to write a Bonnie and Clyde musical. Then all of a sudden, Frank Wildhorn comes in. Frank Wildhorn, who wrote Jekyll and Hyde. And all of a sudden, he comes in with a Bonnie and Clyde musical. So who's going to get to Broadway first? That's why this whole business, it's so ridiculous as far as luck. You got to have the talent. But if you don't get the break, and the break always involves somebody more powerful than you who has the power to take you and put you here.
From New York, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson.
He was the coolest guy on TV. He was the guy that you waited for every night. And I wasn't supposed to be up, but I was up. I used to have dreams about going out through those curtains, those same curtains, and doing stand-up. I remember in the dream, I'd go out and there'd be the cameras and the lights, and I'd be going, blah, 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 and the audience would laugh. I had no idea what I was saying, but I could see it. I could visualize it. As I got older and started realizing, oh, that's the way in the door, then Johnny Carson became, oh, that's what you want to do. You want to go on, you want to tell jokes. Johnny goes, come, sit over here and I'll make you a star.
When I was first coming up, when I started comedy, success was 7 minutes clean time, Tonight Show. If you did Johnny Carson, you were made.
They called him the Kingmaker. He could play one of those. There was just something royal about him. And I think the business had changed a little bit by the time he left the Tonight Show, where the kind of comedians that would be booked normally had changed from variety artists to monologists. When Letterman took over the Late Show, if it involved anything other than standing and talking, it was bullshit. It wasn't pure monology, and therefore it was a false kind of stand-up.
The idea at that point, after all the big 80s boom of what stand-up was all of a sudden it went from this stuff where you could do characters and have a wig and guitars and all that type of stuff to just being whittled down to like even almost, I was getting to the snob point. I felt that even if you moved around with the microphone and acted stuff out, you didn't get the same level of respect as somebody who just went up there and stood there. Like the highest level of stand-up was the guy who just went up, the man or woman went up and just stood there, didn't even take the mic out of the mic stand, did not even have to blink an eye. And just the way they wrote the joke killed the crowd. And that was like, distilled down to its purest form.
I mean, I was doing straight stand-up, but I would always throw in some musical thing at the end. That's what I thought you had to do. When I was growing up, I was like, well, yeah, but standing and talking, but what if I sing a song at the end? I thought more was more. I didn't think it was relying on things, It's like, oh, he's hiding behind that guitar or he's hiding behind the piano. So I thought, well, no, these are things that I do too. These are ball tree. You actually have a testicle tree.
Yeah.
These are green oranges. They're not limes.
There's one.
Oh.
It's called not being ripe. I guess you don't live in California.
No, I don't. There's nobody better than Manfrotati on the quick back and forth. So quick. Not necessarily funny, but always something. I saw when you. I saw when you. I walked into Dangerfield. I forgot what I'm saying. I said, again, why? It never gets old.
I miss it. I miss it.
It never
so
stops
much.
being funny.
I miss it so much. Get out of my camera shot.
While we've been doing this whole thing, they were reminding me, everybody remembers that Miss Florida story, which they said came from you.
Are you mad at me for that?
Well, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the story.
The Miss Florida story.
Did anyone tell the Manny story about the phone?
Did Rick bang Miss Florida?
You told the story about how when he was on the phone and he said Miss Nebraska. That was my story.
Everybody's probably telling this story, and of course, I only know it secondhand. I think John Manfrotati was the actual person who was standing there.
And he said to me one day, he goes, boy, Rick Crom's gay, huh? And I go, yeah, we all knew that. He goes, well, I just found out for sure the other night. I go, what do you mean? He said he was at the bar, and Rick was on the phone with a friend.
And it was the night of the World Series.
Written in 5th place, but feeling majestic. Their season turned dramatically.
Everyone's wondering like who won the game, and Rick was on the payphone.
And he heard Rick arguing with his friend, saying, well, who won?
And we thought he was talking about baseball because it was such a huge game.
And he said, and I started thinking, he's into sports? You know, not that a gay man can't be into sports, but he just thought it was peculiar. He goes, but then he heard Rick go, Miss Florida? He goes, and I knew, okay.
Miss America 1993, the Anza Cornet, Miss Florida.
And everybody just lost it.
We all remember it a little bit different, but the Miss Florida is the main thing we'll all agree on.
First of all, I love how you've heard the story from everybody who wasn't there. I was the one who was there.
I think it was Manny who first said to me. And he said, oh. He said, I heard a story.
Did he say I told?
Oh, John Manfrotati said he said, oh, Rick is into sports. And he went, and you went, Miss Florida.
Oh, see, that's embellishment.
I know. And now Estee tells that story, Miss Florida. Now, it's not that I don't think it's a funny story if somebody tells it that way. What I don't like is the implication that I'm a closet effeminate queen. And it was never, I don't think it was ever meant viciously. But what it did is it reduced me into a other than stereotype. And that I couldn't abide, you know, using a cliche, because they use the voice, Miss Florida. Do I talk like that? Have I ever talked like that?
It's funny, Rick is a fundamentally different gay guy. He's the gay guy that orders, grilled cheese and bologna sandwiches at a diner, and you go, so he's always been that sort of Chicago blue-collar kind of a guy.
You know how you look at homosexuals and there's always a stereotype on how they act? He didn't do this. And Rick was not that kind of guy. He was just saying he was gay, but in a real heterosexual way. Yeah, I'm gay. Yeah, that's right. I like some cock, no big deal.
He says to us one night after his show, he says, I want to talk to you all. I have something I want to tell you. So we all come into the guys' room, and we're all sitting there looking at him, and he says, I really trust you guys, and this is a hard thing for me to come out and say, but I'm gay. And we looked at him, we looked at each other, and we said, we know. Hello? It's like,
Duh. Does everybody know that Rick is gay? I don't know. I don't want to. He's talking about it.
Oh, Rick's gay?
Yes, he's gay.
Are you sure? Because I hate for something to come out.
I didn't know Rick was gay. I had no idea. And I was in the hallway with Pete Corelli one night, and he walks down. I don't know, he's joking around, because, we all love Rick, but he says something like, oh my God, this is a gay song. And I go, what? It's not gay, it's not gay. And Pete Corelli goes, what? He goes, look in there. And Rick's just on the piano singing a show tune. La 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 boo. And I was like, oh my God, he's gay. I didn't fucking see it. I really didn't even know.
All right, please put your hands together. Welcome Mr. Greg Giraldo.
Thank you, everybody. Keep it going for Rick Crom. How about a hand for him there, wherever the hell he is? Probably gay. Anyways.
Who is it?
Hey!
Who are you?
Does anybody know that?
Hello, young man.
Hello.
When did I first meet you?
Well, I started.
I don't remember the circumstances. I just remember all of a sudden you were just sort of there. you were just sort of like, oh, him.
That's how most of my relationships began. Actually,
I know it was at the Cellar.
Put your hands together. Welcome our good friend, Mr. Jim David. Jim.
got Rick Crom, everybody. Mr. Rick Crom, your MC. My personal shower buddy. I would think two, what I would call best friends in comedy, and Rick is definitely one of them. I mean, he's like my brother. And we call each other just to talk about stuff that has nothing to do with comedy. And we always have, ever since we met each other. We're very similar in that we're both sort of close to the same age. We are both gay in a profession that at the time was still pretty homophobic. We were both petrified to come out of the closet on stage because we thought that it would destroy our career.
Rick being gay was, obvious, but it was a different kind of thing. Rick was gay at a time when it wasn't hip to be gay. You know what I mean? Rick carries like that old school, you kind of hide it from certain places out of protection for your life.
When you go back and think about it, none of the comedians came out. Rosie O'Donnell spent years before she came out, like in front of you. So did Ellen.
I just noticed that there weren't any comics who were, even if they were gay and out, they weren't really talking about it on stage.
He's a poker. Ladies know what I'm talking about. Those nighttime attacks, right? Fellas, you know you're guilty. You a poker, aren't you, man? You know what I'm talking about.
Jim David, I think, was the first one that I saw actually talking about being gay on stage.
My rap name is Notorious F.A.G.
If I think of something and if I can make it funny, then I'm going to talk about it. But being closeted, then yeah, there's some things you're going to stay away from because you're afraid that, if I say that, then that's going to lead to this. And next thing you know, I'm out.
Oh, then there was my coach, Mr. Mulvaney. He said to me, Rick, take a lap. I joined him in his chair, and could have been a mistake. He's still writing to me, but...
One of the things that was at play back then is you could do openly gay stuff if you satisfied a stereotype. And the audience would believe you if you did that. I tried several times to do openly gay stuff, and they didn't believe me. First of all, because I wasn't satisfying their stereotypes. Plus, it was still not cool to talk about it. It made people very uncomfortable. It still makes people uncomfortable. But back then, it was career suicide. And if you didn't want to, because if the minute you did that, that's who you were. He's that gay comedian.
It's not an identity. And unfortunately, a lot of the other comedians, that's what they see you as. They see you as the gay guy.
I never talked about being gay in my act because I never wanted to be a gay, I wanted to be a comic and who happened to be gay. And I really had no material on. I was going to talk about the AIDS crisis. I mean, that was really the big thing. It was a really hard time.
As far as we can figure, ladies, you want us to be what you want us to be when you want us to be it. But you're not going to tell us when you want us to be what. Because if we loved you, we know.
It was implying that I was straight and that I was talking about me. But my own ego wouldn't let me actually say this girl I'm dating.
I don't remember him doing jokes about his girlfriend. I don't think Rick was ever in the closet.
When I saw Rick, when I first saw him, he was just being funny. It wasn't straight nor gay. It was just comedy. He was just doing stand-up.
There's a cool Keith Robinson, and then some old white fuck comes up here. What's he going to talk about? What's his rap name? Old dirty gray balls? What
I hate the term out of the closet because it implies that he was hiding it. And I don't know if that's the same thing as just not choosing to make it part of your act.
Being a comedian itself is such a unifier. I don't even see one guy as gay, another guy as Asian or black or Jewish. It's more like, what kind of comedian are you? Are you a funny comedian? Are you not funny comedian?
Chris Rock and I used to talk about this all the time. He said, man, you got to talk about this stuff. And I just said, I don't think I can pull it off. I don't think I can sustain it. I was terrified of doing it.
There were a lot of people very successful being comedians where you weren't unearthing your soul. To be more personal and stuff is kind of a newer development in comedy. There were plenty of people just doing observational stuff and doing this and doing that. I don't think that him not being totally bare and honest on stage kept him back. And I don't think him being honest about gay or not, in his time coming up, I don't think, if Rick was really honest and talking about being gay on stage in 1981, how's that gonna go over?
I did jokes about, I did jokes about homosexuals about a couple years ago, and faggots were mad. They were like, it's nothing like having a nation of fags looking for you. I'd be at parties, there's always 2 or 3 homosexuals at a party, and they'd be standing around looking at you, they'd be looking at everything. He's an asshole.
One of the first times I walked into a New York comedy club and watched the comedians, I was absolutely horrified by the anti-gay jokes that I was hearing. And the audience was just howling. The audience was like, ha, ha, ha. And I thought, oh my God, do I really want to do this? Is this my chosen profession now where I have to subjugate myself to this? So for the first 10 years of my career, I did not come out.
When you're gay, you have to come out all the time.
We have to come out every set that we do. Most audiences, when we walk on stage, they assume we're straight, unless we just walk up like this and somehow let the audience know that we're gay.
Rick has been gay for so long that he's gone through, it's so great that now like he can be around doing all his gay things now. It must be so much fun for him.
I think you go through that kind of self-development where you've talked about everything in your silly way that you would do in your 20s and 30s. And you hit 40 and you go, yeah, fuck it, I don't care who I offend anymore. And you're ready to accept the truth about yourself. No, it's weird, but I'm talking to this transgender boy, and we're kind of hitting it off. And I'm not really into girls, but he was dressed as a boy, and he said, well, I'm going to dress up. I said, okay, fine. I said, well, maybe we should get together later. And he goes like, and do what? I said, I don't know, have gay sex. And he said, I'm not gay, I'm a girl. Oh, okay, you can be the girl. I'm going to suck your dick anyway. Times have changed. Let's just put it that way.
My favorite thing that I've seen him do on TV, because I think it really captures Rick, was when he did Louie's show.
Did you see that scene? The gay poker table scene? Most of that shit is true. And it's amazing, because when I was doing it, I said, Louie, this has never been done on TV before. He said, tell me those stories about those clubs you go to and all that. I said, really? And you all are like, yes, we want to hear more about the gay jerk-off club. Yeah, city jerks. You could just watch. A lot of guys like to watch why another guy pleasures himself. Everybody joked with everybody. And of course, I would get all the gay jokes, and Patrice O'Neill would get all the black jokes. And then there was that urban legend about the origin of the word faggot. The word faggot really means a bundle of sticks used for kindling in a fire. Now, in the Middle Ages, when they used to burn people they thought were witches, they used to burn homosexuals too.
Like, that was a conversation we really had at the table.
It just reminded me of living back in New York, and when you would talk to Rick, and he was just absolutely funny as hell. And then out of nowhere, if you went to a deeper subject, like he'd go into that, I guess, level of Rick Crom.
Louie, when he was shooting his first episode, and we happened to run at each other at the Cellar, I guess it reminded him of these stories that I used to tell. And he said, hey, tell me those stories again. And he said, I think I want to put those in the show. Would you mind being the guy? Play yourself, basically.
Yeah, but really, it's like, as a comedian and a gay guy, you're the only gay comic I know. Do you think I shouldn't be using that word on stage?
By all means, use it. Get your laughs, but, now you know what it means.
Okay, thanks, faggot. We'll keep that in mind.
I didn't know what kind of shit we were going to get for it. Turns out that people found it to be a deep and profound scene, and it could have very easily gone the other way. Now you can talk about these things. You're a little uncomfortable. I see that many of you. Many of them told me that they were going to stop using the word faggot in their act because of that scene. And I thought that was, that had a lot more power than I imagined that it had. I thought there'd be a lot of resistance to it. I don't mean it that way, so I'm going to keep saying it the way I'm saying. We got a lot of that. But a lot of young people reconsidered their casual use of that word. I think that was a good thing. Thank you very much, everybody. You're very nice.
Thank you so much.
Great job, man. We have more show. Oh my God, there's a whole studio here.
What's up? We're back with another YKWd podcast. We have a busy show today. We're gonna go to Rick Crom first. Now, is it a different ball? Is comedy a different ball game for you now?
It sure is. Now, I just noticed the whole gay marriage thing, it's weird because I used to be able to get a laugh simply on doing a gay reference or alluding something. And now people are like, yeah, so what else?
Right.
So I'm not subversive anymore. I'm not sure I'm liking this whole big gay acceptance thing. Want a little Spanish song? When you put your penis in a Spanish boy, every cliche that you've heard people say is true. He won't say no or nada when you're serving a big enchilada. Now here's what that dear Spanish boy will say to you. Ay, papi, si, ay, papi, si, ay, papi, si. There's more. There's more, Daddy.
You don't have to hide on stage. You can finally just, if you want to say something that happened to you in your life or relationship, you can make a joke about it. You're truly 100% honest on stage right now, or have the ability to be.
Yeah.
And that must be an amazing feeling
Yeah, it's great
to do that.
It's great to use the gay stuff as the context, not the punchline.
Right.
You know, where it used to be before, it was like...
everything gay was the punchline.
It's
like, and I'm gay. And they're like,
This fucking guy, there's no way, no way. They don't really exist.
Olé. That's on the spot.
Quiet.
Oh my God! Holy shit, a penis cake! Oh, all right. I could never blown up this one. Thank you.
I've never seen Britt so excited in his life.
Oh my God. Thank you.
You're drinking again.
I am not.
What was that?
O'Doul's.
O'Doul's? Really?
Yes. You're trying to bring me down the dark path again, aren't you? When I first came to New York, I was drinking a lot. I was 22 years old. We were at the duplex there in Chicago City Limits, you know, and the beers were like $1. I stopped between 1980 and 85.
This episode of Please Stand By, I'm very pleased to announce tonight that it is now 4 months since I, your host, have had a drink of alcohol. Thank you very much. 4 months today.
In 1992, I had a 91. I had a show downstairs here called Absolutely Rude, a musical review. And it was, it got great reviews, right? And then the New York Times came and killed it. You know, the Daily News was like, oh, you know, brilliant, funny. New York Times was just the opposite, you know, derivative, untuneful, da-da-da. And so I said, okay, I need a drink. The last time I thought I got a shot of getting on the Letterman show, and from there, who knows? I think the last time I thought that was, I remember this, I was a Catch a Rising Star. It was early 90s, mid-90s, and I had done a showcase with a lot of people. The Letterman guy was there. I mean, I wasn't one of the guys who they had come to see, but I was on the show, they saw me, you know? And I thought, oh, Jesus, I killed. The audience loved me. It's why it's only serves to logic that, you know, I did very well. I'll be on the Letterman show tomorrow. That's not the way it works, you know. So, you know, the guy comes out, and he had seen me before, and he always says, it's always good to see you. You're very funny. Not right for the show, but I always like to see you. And oh, okay, cool. And so that very night, I went from going, I'm right up there with the rest of the people, to going like, oh shit, I'm not going to make it. I remember, I even said it on stage, went, holy shit, I'm not going to make it. At the time, what I meant was not make it meant Letterman, Tonight Show, sitcom. I remember having this conversation with my mother where I was about to turn 50. And you know how moms are. Back in Chicago, she said, so you're gonna move back to Chicago, right? Well, no, what? Why? She said, well, you said years ago that, if you hadn't made it by the time you were 50, you were gonna give it up and move back to Chicago. I said, well, what makes you think I haven't made it? And of course, in those terms, it's like you make it when you're rich and you're famous.
Why is it that you have to be this huge megastar with 20 billion followers and cameras, following you? Why is that the definition of success and fame?
If you don't have that, does that make you any less? No. No, hell no.
You're happy with what you're doing until some jackass comes around and, it makes you feel shitty about where you are, your life. And I think Rick is happy doing the thing that he loves to do, which is, entertain. He's an entertainer. He wants to make people laugh.
I mean, it's a weird thing. Rick comes from cabaret and Broadway, and he's around all these people singing, and that's what he brought to the Cellar. He bent the whole Comedy Cellar to what he wanted to do. There was another place with a piano where he could sing the way he wanted to sing. It shouldn't be at the Comedy Cellar. There's no place for that at the Comedy Cellar. But all of a sudden, he made it work. So I think he was like Broadway and that stuff, and he was very New York, very New York. So is he going to break out and be George Carlin? No. Is he going to go be this great purely Broadway singer? No. He kind of was this weird hybrid. He's not a TV star. He's not an opera star. He's not a legendary comedian. He's Rick Crom. I started doing these live shows, classic radio show. It's scripted. It's like a 40-page script, and it's just in a classic radio format. And in that classic radio format, there's performances, and there's music, and there's a host, and then there's this announcer. There's always an announcer in these programs, and he does the ads, and he's the voice of the show. Rick Crom.
Are you terrified every time your dog goes outside? You should be. What is he stepping in? Ebola? What's he sniffing? What's he sniffing? Smallpox?
It was perfect. I would write these fake, dirty ads, and Rick would voice them. And it just added it was exactly what I thought the show should be. You can't see when you see him live, it makes sense that you've got this funny-looking older dude talking. The guy gives a shit. He really, really cares. He takes the script and goes through every line. He gets his pacing down. He comes with his own script in a binder. It's all mapped out. He works on it. And then other comedians roll in and they're like, what are we doing? Oh, we got to do a sketch. And they kind of go through it and they half-ass it. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But Rick is always at the right level because he works. He really, really, really cares.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of Come to Papa.
And our announcer, Rick Crom. Thank you so much.
Urinetown ended. I had not been at the Comedy Cellar for about 4 years. And within the span of a year, the dog died, we lost the house, my partner died, and the economy started to tank. And some of the theaters that I was writing for went out of business, and that kept me from writing new material. Well, as a result, I was not getting on the stage at the Cellar as much as I used to. I wasn't bringing the goods. And then I just stopped putting in for spots at the Cellar. And it's been 6 years since I've been on that stage as a regular act. Oh, I had my crumbling moments, but as you may know from my Midwestern roots, you're never gonna see them. If you think you're gonna get me to cry on camera, you got another thing coming. I don't do that. Those are private things that I dealt with. And I dealt with them like a lot of people did, booze and self-indulgence and anything to medicate the feelings. And it took me a long time to work through that. I think purpose in life is the thing that gets you through. Some people do it with their religion and their faith. I think a lot of us artists do it with our work. For me, I think what turned me around from the trauma of those few years of getting used to that was the teaching. Suddenly, I was useful again. And I had students who I could impart this lifetime of knowledge I had and help them grow in a positive way. And that made me feel that I was past it. That trauma happened, I learned from it, but it no longer controls me. I have this other purpose.
So like, Rick is responsible for my comedy career and also the death of my acting career at the same time. So shout out to you, Rick. I love you to death. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
He's loving the class.
Loving it. Well, you did the work. That's what made you home. Great job. I didn't see myself as going back to the Cellar on the lineup as a regular act, unless I had made some big changes. But now, have you heard of, we're doing this reunion show. Bill and I are going to go back on stage and do our old evening at the Cellar one last time, just for shits and giggles.
Oh, that'll be fun.
That'd be fantastic. And the best thing is, same material.
The idea of Bill Grundfest coming out of retirement and Rick Crom teaming up with him to perform one last show really sounds like, on the list of things to do in New York, that's number 472. Okay? There's fucking Broadway shows happening. There's city bikes. There's life. There's anything better to do than to watch those two fucking guys try to think of jokes from 30 years ago.
Look how old we got.
Oh, Rick.
I know. What's become of us? The shine from your head is blank.
Now, when I see tapes of what we did, I'm surprised that they did not kill us.
I was full little star.
All was far.
I'm feeling like we're doing the Sunshine Boys. Because I was trying to think, what do we do? Because you would come out.
Yes. I remember I'd come out.
That you remember.
That part I remember.
And you would do topical jokes. You would do 10 or 20 right off the top.
I did? Yes. Well, yes. I remember the, I don't remember anything.
Yes, you do. You remember this.
Hosting again at the Cellar will be like seeing a good old friend once more. What we did was quite good and was not seen since.
I agree.
Here he is, direct from Los Angeles. Put your hands together for Bill Grundfest.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's Bill
Thank
Grundfest,
you.
everybody.
How you doing? How you doing?
There we go. All right. So that was useful.
It was very useful. I didn't realize how much we'd forgotten.
I'll see you in New York.
We're totally off the same page. Oh, hello, Bill.
Hello, Brick.
Here we are again.
Back where we started.
Getting to the stage is half the battle. Once you're there.
That's awesome.
That's not the kind of sound you get from feedback. Oh, what's she got here? First, let me pee. I have a cup of coffee.
Down to need me anymore.
And the audience goes nuts.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'll see you soon.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. And now the magic begins. The poopy scalp looks ridiculous. But we are in Jersey, so poopy hair. Here's a trick. Hairspray on the brush, then here, and here. Then, spray right on it, right above it. It's very complicated. I didn't get the gay fashion gene. All I got was the music and the cocksucking. Ready for the big show! Don't eat that, that's asphalt. Stupid squirrel.
Hello.
Knock one on after Solomon.
Oh, here he is. Do you remember any of your jokes?
No.
It's a perfect Mark Cohen joke.
This is comics of a certain age.
Same shit. The old man show.
Okay.
Let's start with Fine Bill and the rest will happen.
You left it out before you had it.
No, but early on, when I first got here, Alan, you were one of my favorite comedians.
Very professional. I don't come here to get insulted.
Where do you usually go?
All right, listen, I'm going to the piano.
God bless you. Oh, shit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Comedy Cellar. The best damn comedy room in town. And now, put your hands together and welcome your host for this evening. After 25 years, with 5 years off for good behavior, the original host of the Comedy Cellar, Bill Grundfest!
Thank you so much. How you doing? Well, woo is good, but usually when we say how you doing, we say, fine, Bill. How you doing? Fine, Bill. Oh, what a good crowd. Oh, a wonderful crowd. It's like falling off a bicycle.
It certainly is.
You never forget.
With no seat.
No, hey, welcome to the village. But seriously,
what a great crowd!
A wonderful crowd, and we have a wonderful show for you. So it's kismet that the whole thing works out.
25 years.
25. We have not hosted a show together in 25 years, and you're about to see why. I
have changed a little bit. The city, New York City, has definitely changed since last we were together.
Yes, it's incredibly different. The last time that you and I were here, totally different city.
Yeah, I mean, now there is no place in New York that you can go to get reliably killed. There is no place.
That was a thing.
In the old days, you could go to Hell's Kitchen. Yes. Yes, they did. Kill that. The waterfront killed. Now you have to go to Jersey. You can't get killed anymore.
If you were looking to find bodies under the waterfront there.
Yes, and it's just not a dangerous city anymore.
Not anymore.
I saw a cab driver today pick up a black guy just out of curiosity. The hell is that?
It's a whole other town.
It's a whole other town. So I've changed the city. You know what has not changed? This place, the Comedy Cellar.
Comedy Cellar.
The commitment to quality, at least in the early and the late shows. This is the middle show.
Not so much this show.
You guys are in a wonderful mood. We're going to get things started.
We have a great show.
A great show, a wonderful show. A guy who I also haven't seen in quite some time. This is such a serendipitous night that you're here together. It's so exciting.
Quick, somebody look up serendipitous.
Wow, we really are doing a reunion show.
Yeah. Please welcome Mark Cohen.
Hey! That's Mark Cohen, everybody! Say hello, Mark.
What?
Say hello, Mark.
Hello, 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 hello.
So wonderful to see that neither you nor Rick has improved.
Yeah, fucking tastic.
Oh my God.
I can't believe I'm on a show when I'm the youngest guy. Oh, this is fantastic. I just came. Listen. Let me take a little test, Rick.
Yeah, take a little test.
Shake it, bavakasha. Hey! Jews! I am still killing! Fuck me!
Body shot.
That was my little Jewish detector.
What was it?
I got a black magic marker.
He's gotten better.
I didn't come here to be insulted.
Where do you usually come? Sailor for sale or rent. All right. I was kicked out of that show for this.
This is awesome.
It's okay.
It's so stupid. I haven't done stand-up in a while, Rick, I gotta tell you.
What have you been doing?
Quail's an idiot. All right. You have some great comedians coming up. Give these guys a hand, too. You guys enjoy the show. Thank you.
Mark Cohen, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Cohen.
Oh my God! What a way to start the show.
Energy, man. It's pure energy. Let me tell you something.
Might be the silliest man in captivity, Mark Cohen.
Oh, Mark Cohen, everybody!
Amazing.
2 hours sleep.
You still think you got it?
Apparently, word got out that that Rick and I were back after a little respite, and occasionally people drop by to say hello. Would you please give a nice welcome, Mr. Jon Stewart?
I can't believe Jon Stewart's grandfather stuff. Old as shit now. Remember, like a couple of weeks ago, I was on TV and I looked kind of good, and now, I'm off TV for 4 weeks and I turned into Gandalf. It's all right. Thank you all very much. You got a great show tonight. And thanks to the
This is awesome. Mr. Colin, Quinn.
Thank you, folks. Exciting. Jon Stewart came down. I went a little long, I thought, but that's just being honest, Jon. You know, it is the Cellar. I know he's a legend, but let's face it, when we first came here, he fucking crawled before me, sir. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the
Would you please give a nice welcome, Mr. Ray Romano?
A long time ago, those two guys, they molested me and gave me a career. All right, come on up, guys.
And Mr. Alan Havey.
One more time, Bill Grundfest, Mr. Rick Crom. And how about a hand for my opening acts? Jon Stewart, Colin, Quinn, Ray Romano. Not bad. Yes. Soap on a rope. Thank you all.
Mr. Louie C.K.
I came to New York in 1989, and I've been doing comedy for 5 years. I was 19 years old. One night, I get off stage at the Boston Comedy Club, and Bill Grundfest, who's been up here hosting, says to me, "Hi, I'm Bill. I host the show down the street. No, somebody didn't show up. Can you come over?" And I was like, all right. It was a Saturday night. It was packed. And we ran here. I'm running with a total stranger down the street. And then he goes, go, 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 go. And he brings me on. And I had a very good set. So he gave me a huge opportunity. He was there all that time. Rick was also here. He didn't do anything. He was just being gay. Just being a gay man. Oh, God. During my formative years. And he was my first gay friend. He was. Good night, folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you. Wow, what a night.
Wowie, wow, wow. And Mark Cohen would be here no matter what.
No matter what, yeah.
He lives under the stairs.
Oh, those musical notes indicate to me that we may have come to the almost end of a fabulous evening together.
Oh, what a show!
I know. And they're getting their checks now.
Oh.
They're looking at their checks, they're looking at us, and all of a sudden,
It's not so fucking funny. Let's never do this again.
The show was one of those rare moments in show business where you think this is never going to happen again. This is one of those nights where everything that you hope was going to happen happens. There was such a sense of history. I've been doing this for 38 years in one form or another, and I'm pretty sure this was probably my best night in show business. Quite a night. Incredible night. I think that when you go through a couple of traumatic years in terms of show business and your personal life all kind of colliding or collapsing, you might think, yeah, what am I doing? Maybe I'll just quit or pack it up and call it a day. And this is why I always say, in life, you don't get what you deserve. You don't get what you want. You get what you get. And sometimes what you get is better than anything you wanted or deserved. All right, so I'm not getting the 9:15 at the Cellar anymore, but I'm on TV. I'm doing stuff. You never know where it's going to take you, so you have to be able to do other things. And you just keep going in one direction and reinventing yourself. Things will work out. You'll have ups and downs, but how boring would it be if you only had ups? Nothing stays the same. So just keep moving forward.
Here we go.
Years ago, there was a subject of which we did not speak. But today, when women are gay,
It's more than okay.
it's chic. Lesbian madness is sweeping the country since Ellen DeGeneres told us she was gay. Just look around and see all of the lesbians
Who've always been here.
but never did say, all right if you insist. And we do. Let's go down the lesbian list.
Yeehaw! Rosie O'Donnell, outspoken lesbian.
Katie Lang is a country lesbian.
Tracy Chapman, an urban lesbian.
It's so in fashion to be a lesbian.
Lily Tomlin, a funny lesbian.
Billie Jean King is a tennis lesbian.
J. Edgar Hoover,
Dressed as a lesbian. Come on, everybody, let's all be lesbians.
history's rife with prominent lesbians. Eleanor Roosevelt, Margaret Mead.
I am not certain, but I heard a rumor. Joan of Arc stood when she peed.
Then there's Madonna, a sometimes lesbian.
Also Martina, a major lesbian. Ellen Page, brand new lesbian. With a little practice, you can be a lesbian.
Jodie Foster, Oscar-winning lesbian.
Melissa Etheridge, rock and roll lesbian.
Rachel Maddow,
MSNB lesbian. Shake your family tree and you'll find a lesbian. Lesbians, lesbians everywhere. Poor Jerry Falwell was in despair. He said gay women are destined to debauch, but we like lesbians, we like to watch.
All right, here's some old ones.
Old ones.
Agnes Forehead,
Hermione Gingold,
Tallulah Bankhead,
Marjorie Main,
Barbara Stanwyck,
Christy McNichol, let's not forget Miss Jane Hathaway. Lesbians, lesbians all around. They've always been here without a sound. Now that we know we still love them all the same. Oh, we like lesbians, and we're naming names. Lesbians, lesbians, I'm a fan.
Chastity Bono.
No, she's a man.
All right.
She went through the transition.
Now,
Feelings for them have not gone down a notch. Oh, we like lesbians, we like to watch. Oh, we like lesbians, we like to watch. Olé! We named the lesbians. We got through it.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't it?
Was
Was
pretty
it?
bad.
Was it pretty bad?